At the Thanksgiving dinner, my daughter-in-law gave me a mop. "Stop pretending you're sick and clean up," she snapped. "Then you can eat off the floor." My son added, "Stop using age as an excuse. You eat for free every single day. Please the guests for us." That night, I packed my suitcase and vanished. The next day, I did something that left them pale with shock. I'm glad to have you here. Follow my story until the end and comment from what city you are watching me. That way, I can see how far my story has traveled. The aroma of savory turkey and mashed potatoes filled the entire house when the doorbell rang for the 5th time that afternoon. It was Thanksgiving, and like every year, my daughter-in-law Samantha had decided to host a special dinner to show her friends how perfect her life was. What her guests didn't know was that I had spent the last 3 days cooking non-stop, cleaning every corner of the house, and preparing everything so she could shine as the ideal hostess. I stayed in the kitchen, as always. That was my designated zone during Samantha's parties. I cooked, I served, I cleaned, but I was never invited to sit with the others. At 65 years old, I had become the invisible house cleaner in my own home, or rather the house where I had lived for 30 years with my late husband, Robert. "Beatrice!" Samantha yelled from the dining room. Her voice had that high-pitched tone she used when she wanted to seem sweet in front of her friends, but which froze my blood. "Bring more warm dinner rolls." I came out of the kitchen balancing a tray with freshly baked rolls. The laughter stopped when I appeared. It was as if I had interrupted something important, as if my presence were a nuisance. The 8 guests looked at me with that uncomfortable expression people put on when they see someone working while they are having fun. "Thank you, Beatrice," one of Samantha's friends mumbled, avoiding my gaze. I went back to the kitchen and continued preparing the apple pie. I could hear fragments of conversation from the dining room. Samantha was bragging about her new job, about the plans to remodel the house, about the trip she and my son Daniel were planning for Christmas. She never mentioned that I existed, except to ask for more food or drink. Around 9 o'clock in the evening, when I was washing the first round of dishes, I heard someone spill red wine on the white tablecloth I had hand-embroidered last year. It was my favorite, the one I used on special occasions when Robert was still alive. "Oh no," Samantha exclaimed, but she didn't sound worried. She sounded annoyed. "Beatrice, get over here immediately." I walked out, wiping my hands on my apron. The red stain was spreading across the fabric like fresh blood. My heart sank. "Look what happened," Samantha said, pointing to the stain. "We need you to clean this up right now, before it stains permanently." "Yes, of course," I replied, heading toward the closet where I kept the cleaning supplies. "Wait," Samantha said, stopping me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. She stood up and walked toward the cleaning closet. When she returned, she was carrying something that made me stop breathing, a dirty mop. "Take this," she told me, extending the wet mop to me in front of all her guests. "Since you like cleaning so much, clean this, and then you can eat the crumbs off the floor, like the dog you are." The silence in the dining room was deafening. I could feel the guests' stares fixed on me, but I couldn't move. The mop dripped dirty water onto my trembling hands. "Samantha," one of her friends murmured, clearly uncomfortable. "What?" Samantha responded with a forced laugh. "It's the truth. She eats for free every day. She never pays anything and acts like she owns the place." That was when Daniel, my son, appeared. My only son. He came out of the den where he had been watching the football game with some of the husbands. He was 38 years old, but in that moment he seemed like a stranger. His eyes were cold, distant. "Mom," he said with a voice I had never heard before. "Stop using your age as an excuse for everything. You have to earn your place here, and that means helping out when we have guests." Daniel, I whispered, feeling my voice break. No, Mum. Enough. Samantha is right. You eat for free every day. You live in our house without paying rent. And the only thing we ask is for you to cooperate when we have visitors. Now, clean that stain and be grateful that our guests are so patient with you. My son's words hit me like punches to the stomach. I looked around the dining room, searching for even one compassionate face, but everyone avoided my gaze. Some looked embarrassed, others simply uncomfortable, but no one said anything. With trembling hands, I knelt on the floor and began to wipe the stain with the dirty mop. The soapy water mixed with my tears as I scrubbed the fabric I had made with so much love. I could hear uncomfortable murmurs, but no one moved to help me. Good job, Samantha said with satisfaction. Now, pick up the crumbs under the table. I stayed kneeling, picking up pieces of bread and dirty napkins from the floor, while the guests ate above me. The humiliation was complete. I was no longer a person to them. I was less than a pet. When I finished, I slowly got up. My knees creaked, and I felt a sharp pain in my back. No one helped me to my feet. You can go to your room now, Daniel said without looking at me. The adults are going to keep talking. I walked to my bedroom with silent steps, like a ghost in my own house. Once in my room, I closed the door and sat on the bed I had shared with Robert for so many happy years. I didn't cry. I had no more tears to shed. Instead, I took my old suitcase out of the closet and started packing. Every garment I folded was like closing a chapter of a life that no longer belonged to me. I put away the few photographs I had of Robert, my medicines, and the little clothing I actually liked. I waited until 3 in the morning, when I was sure everyone was asleep. I took my suitcase, left the house keys on the kitchen table, and slipped out the back door without making a sound. The cold air of November hit my face, but for the first time in years, I felt something akin to freedom. The Comfort Inn Hotel on Main Street wasn't the most elegant place in the world, but that first night it was the most beautiful palace I had known in years. For the first time in a long time, no one was yelling at me, no one was demanding anything from me, no one was treating me like I was invisible. I sat on the single bed, still dressed in the clothes from the day before, and looked at my reflection in the dresser mirror. The woman looking back at me seemed older than 65. She had disheveled grey hair, deep wrinkles of worry, and an expression of exhaustion that I had carried for years without realizing it. When had all this started? At what moment had I stopped being Beatrice Peterson, the woman Robert loved, to become the silent shadow who cleaned and cooked without being seen? The answer hit me like a blow. It had started after Robert's funeral 3 years ago. I remembered that horrible day. Daniel had cried like a small child in the cemetery, clinging to me as if I were his lifeline. I don't know what I'm going to do without Dad, he had told me between sobs. Please, Mum, don't leave me alone too. I had been his refuge then. I had cooked his favourite meals, washed his clothes like when he was a child, and tried to fill the void Robert had left in our lives. Samantha, who had only been married to him for 6 months, had seemed understanding at first. Poor Beatrice, she would tell Daniel when she thought I wasn't listening. It must be so hard to be alone after so many years of marriage. But Samantha's compassion had been short-lived. Within 2 months after the funeral, she was already assigning me tasks. Beatrice, since you're here all day, could you wash the dishes? Beatrice, I have an important meeting tomorrow. Could you iron my blouse? Beatrice, we're going to have guests this weekend. We need the house to be perfect. And I had accepted everything. I had thought it was temporary, that they just needed time to adjust. I had thought I was helping. But when had Daniel stopped defending me? When had he started to see his own mother as a burden instead of a blessing? I got up from the bed and walked toward the hotel window. The parking lot was empty except for a few cars. It was Friday morning and the world was still functioning normally while I hid in a hotel room, trying to understand how I had ended up here. My phone vibrated. A message from Daniel. "Mum, where are you? Samantha is worried. We need to talk." I laughed bitterly. Samantha was worried. The same Samantha who had humiliated me in front of her friends the night before. I didn't reply to the message. During the following hours, the messages kept coming. "Mum, this is ridiculous. Come home." "Beatrice, I know you're upset, but disappearing like this is very immature." "Mum, if you don't come back, I'm calling the police." Each message confirmed what I had begun to understand the night before. To them, I wasn't a person with feelings that could be hurt. I was a possession that had disappeared, an appliance that had stopped working. At noon, I decided to leave the hotel. I needed fresh air and something to eat. There was a small cafe a few blocks away called Grandma's Kitchen, and the name made me smile for the first time in days. The waitress was a woman in her 40s with a genuine smile. "What can I get for you, ma'am?" "A black coffee and a ham and cheese sandwich, please," I replied, surprised by how strange it felt for someone to speak to me with respect. "Are you visiting town?" she asked me, as she wrote down my order. "Something like that," I murmured. "Well, I hope you enjoy your stay. If you need recommendations for places to visit, I'm here." When she brought the coffee, I realized I was crying. Not tears of sadness, but of relief. I had forgotten what it felt like to be treated like a human being. "Are you all right, ma'am?" the waitress asked with genuine concern. "Yes," I replied, wiping my tears. "I'm just remembering who I am." That afternoon, back at the hotel, I made a decision. I took out my old laptop, the one I had used when Robert was alive to manage our finances, and connected to the hotel's internet. It was time to check something Daniel and Samantha didn't know existed. I logged into my personal bank account, the one I had kept separate all these years. Robert had always insisted we have individual accounts, in addition to the joint account. A woman should always have her own financial independence, he had told me when we got married. The figure on the screen made me blink several times to make sure I was seeing correctly. $243,822. During the 3 years I had lived with Daniel and Samantha, I had been the one paying most of the house expenses. Robert's life insurance money, my personal savings, the pension I received, it had all gone directly into maintaining the home they believed was theirs. I had paid for the air conditioning repairs last summer, $4,000. I had covered the master bathroom remodel that Samantha urgently needed, $8,000. I had paid the installments on Daniel's new SUV when he had temporary problems with his job, $600 monthly for a full year, and they thought I was living off their charity. My phone vibrated again. Another message from Daniel. "Mum, enough with the games. Samantha made your favorite dinner. Come home and we'll talk like adults." This time I did respond. "I'm fine. I won't be coming back tonight." The reply came immediately. "What do you mean you're not coming back? Where are you going to sleep?" "In a place where I'm treated with respect." "Mum, don't be dramatic. Come home." I turned off the phone and looked back at my computer screen. $243,822. My money, my independence, my future. For the first time in 3 years, I genuinely smiled. On Monday morning, I dialed my bank's number from the quiet of my hotel room. Over the weekend, I had completely ignored the 23 messages and 11 missed calls from Daniel and Samantha. Each message was more desperate than the last, but none included a sincere apology. National Bank, Patricia speaking. How can I help you? Good morning, Patricia. This is Beatrice Peterson. I need to make some important changes to my account and stop all automatic transfers. Of course, Mrs. Peterson. Please allow me to verify your account. While I waited, I thought about all the automatic payments I had set up over the last 3 years. The house mortgage, $1,800 monthly, the utilities, electricity, water and gas, approximately $400 each month. Daniel's car insurance, $250 monthly, the credit cards they used for emergencies, between $500 and $800 each month. Mrs. Peterson, I see here that you have several automatic transfers set up, totaling approximately $3,200 per month. Do you wish to cancel specific ones or all of them? All of them, I replied without excitement. I want to cancel every single one, effective today. Understood. Is there a particular reason? I only ask because some of these transfers have been active for nearly 3 years. Yes, I said, feeling my voice harden. The reason is, bien, that I am no longer going to allow my generosity to be abused. Perfect. I have cancelled all automatic transfers. Is there anything else I can help you with? Yes. I want to open a new savings account at a different branch, on the other side of the city, and I want to transfer the majority of my money there. After ending the call, I sat in silence for several minutes. It was strange how something as simple as cancelling automatic payments felt like a personal revolution. My phone rang. It was Daniel. Hello? I answered with a neutral voice. Mum, you finally answered. We've been worried sick. Where the heck are you? I'm in a safe place. That tells me nothing. Mum, you have to come home. Samantha is very upset. She hasn't been able to sleep since you left. I laughed dryly. Samantha can't sleep? How interesting. Yes, she feels terrible about what happened on Friday. She says it was all a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Yeah, you know how Samantha is when she has guests. She gets nervous, and sometimes she says things she doesn't mean, but she apologized to me, and she wants to apologize to you too. Daniel, I said slowly, your wife made me clean the floor with a dirty mop in front of 8 people, and then told me to eat crumbs off the floor like a dog. You were there. You told me I deserved it. There was a long pause. Mum, you're exaggerating. Nobody treated you like a dog. I'm exaggerating? Look, maybe we were a little hard on you, but you've also been very difficult lately, always complaining about everything, acting like you're a victim. I felt the anger beginning to boil in my chest. Difficult? When have I been difficult, Daniel? Well, you're always in a bad mood. You never want to do the things we ask, and the things you ask, I repeated. Are you referring to cooking, cleaning, washing clothes, ironing, paying the bills, maintaining the house and doing all the domestic work while you two go out with your friends? Mom, don't be dramatic. You live in our house for free. For free? Yes, for free. You don't pay rent, you don't pay for food, you don't pay for anything. It was time. It was time for Daniel to know the truth. Daniel, who do you think has been paying the mortgage on that house for the last 3 years? What? Me, obviously. It's my house. No, son. I have been paying the mortgage, $1,800 every month, directly from my bank account. Silence. That's not true. Mum, who do you think paid for the air conditioning repairs last summer? The $4,000 for the bathroom remodel? The payments on your car? The utilities every month? Mum, what are you saying? I'm saying that for the last 3 years, I have spent more than $120,000 maintaining that house and that life you think you're financing. That's impossible. You don't have that much money. Oh, really? Daniel, I had a whole life before you were born. Your father and I worked for 40 years. We saved, we invested, we planned our future. When he died, he left me a considerable inheritance, in addition to my own pension and my savings. But, but you never said. I never said because you never asked. You assumed I was a poor old woman who depended on your charity, and I let you believe it because I thought that way I could help my son in a difficult time. Mom, I didn't know. Of course you didn't know. You know why? Because you never cared to know. In 3 years, not once did you ask me how I was financially, if I needed anything, if I had enough money for my medicines or my personal expenses. But Mum. But nothing, Daniel. An hour ago I cancelled all the automatic transfers from my account. Starting today, I will not pay 1 more cent of that house's expenses. What? You can't do that. How are we going to pay the mortgage? That is no longer my problem. Mum, please. We can't lose the house. Then you better find a job that allows you to pay for it yourself, or sell some of the expensive things you've been buying with my money. But I didn't know it was your money, did I? Did you never wonder where the money came from when your salary wasn't enough? Did it never seem strange that there was always money available for everything Samantha wanted? Daniel was silent. Son, I continued with a softer voice, for 3 years, I became your unpaid house cleaner, and on top of that, I financed your lifestyle. All because I loved you and wanted to help. But on Friday night, I realized that to you, I am not a person who deserves respect. I'm just a source of money and free labor. Mum, that's not true. We love you. You love me? When was the last time you asked me how I felt? When was the last time you invited me to go out with you? When was the last time you treated me like part of the family instead of the servant? Daniel didn't answer. I'm going to tell you something else, son. I have $243,822 in my bank account. Money your father and I saved for decades. Money we planned to use to travel, to enjoy our golden years. After he died, I thought I could use it to help my son and create beautiful memories together. But instead, I used it to subsidize a life in which I was invisible, no more. What do you mean? I mean that I am going to use that money for myself, to create the life I deserve. A life where I don't have to clean floors with dirty mops to earn a place in my own family. Mum, please, we can fix this. Come home and we'll talk. No, Daniel. This conversation ended 3 days ago, when you decided it was acceptable for your wife to humiliate me and for you to support her. I hung up the phone and turned it off. For the first time in years, I felt like I was in control of my own life. On Thursday morning, I was quietly having breakfast at Grandma's kitchen when I saw Daniel enter like a hurricane. He had deep circles under his eyes, dishevelled hair, and that desperate look I remembered from when he was a child and had broken something valuable. He saw me immediately and headed toward my table with long, nervous strides. Mum, thank God I found you, he said, slumping into the chair across from me without being invited. I've been looking all over the city for you. Good morning, Daniel, I replied calmly, without looking up from my newspaper. Mum, we urgently need to talk. There is a very serious problem. What kind of problem? His hands trembled as he placed them on the table. The bank called us yesterday. They say the mortgage payment was rejected. The power company is also going to cut off service on Monday if we don't pay. And we don't have the money to pay for any of it. I took a sip of my coffee and looked him directly in the eyes. That's too bad. Mum, you can't be serious. They are going to take our house. They are not going to take anything from me, Daniel. That house is in your name, not mine. But you said you had been paying. And I was, but not anymore. The waitress approached our table. Is your companion going to order anything, Mrs. Peterson? No, I replied. He's leaving very soon. Daniel looked at me with disbelief. Mrs. Peterson, they are treating you like you are important here. Here they treat me like what I am, a customer who pays for a service and deserves basic respect. Mom, please, stop playing games. This is serious. Samantha is hysterical. She hasn't stopped crying since you left. Is she crying because she misses me, or because she realized she won't be able to keep living the lifestyle I was financing? Daniel lowered his gaze. She didn't know you were paying so much. Neither of us did. Really, you didn't know? Did you never wonder how you could afford a 4-bedroom house with a yard when your salary was $3,000 monthly and Samantha's was $2,500? I thought I had saved more than I remembered. Or maybe Dad had left something. Your father did leave something, Daniel. He left it to me, his wife. And I decided to share it with you because I thought we were a family. We are a family. Oh, really? Do families force their mothers to clean the floor with dirty mops in front of strangers? Daniel ran his hands through his hair. Mum, I told you that was a mistake. Samantha was nervous. She'd had a little wine. Daniel, stop making excuses for your wife. She knew exactly what she was doing. What do you want me to do? Get a divorce? I want you to take responsibility for your decisions and stop expecting me to finance the consequences. He leaned forward, desperate. Mum, how much money do you need? $5,000? $10,000? I promise we'll pay you back as soon as… Daniel, stop. 20,000. Whatever. Just tell me what it costs for you to come back and for things to go back to the way they were. There is no amount of money that can buy that. Why not? You always said family is the most important thing. I got up from the table and put down money to pay for my breakfast. You're right. Family is the most important thing. That's why I'm going to create a new one. You can't leave. I'm your only son. And I was your only mother. But that didn't stop you when you decided it was acceptable to humiliate me. Daniel followed me to the cafe door. Mum, please. I promise things will change. I turned toward him. How are things going to change, Daniel? Is Samantha going to start treating me with respect? Are you going to defend me when she disrespects me? Are you going to invite me to dinner with you instead of having me serve the food? Are you going to ask me how my day was? Yes, all of that. Whatever it takes. You don't even believe yourself, son. Mum, you are destroying our family. No, Daniel. Our family was destroyed last Friday when you decided it was appropriate to treat me like a servant. I'm just saving myself from the wreckage. That afternoon, from my hotel room, I called my cousin Helen in Phoenix. Helen and I had been very close when we were young, but after I married Robert and we moved to Dallas, we had lost touch. Beatrice, my goodness, I can't believe it's you. How are you, cousin? Hello, Helen. I'm starting over. What do you mean? I told her the whole story. Helen listened without interrupting, and when I finished, there was a long silence. Beatrice, she finally said, come to Phoenix, right now. Seriously? Seriously. I have a big house. I've been living alone since Frank died, and I'd love to have company. Plus, there's a great community of people our age here. Could you start over? Helen, I don't want to be a burden. A burden? Beatrice, you're 65, not 95. You have money, health, and a whole life ahead of you. Besides, you owe me about 20 years of catching up. That night, I booked a plane ticket for the following Monday. On Friday morning, Daniel showed up at the hotel again. This time, he brought Samantha with him. I watched them from my room window, arguing in the parking lot. Samantha was gesturing dramatically, clearly upset. Daniel had that defeated posture he had developed during his marriage. When they knocked on the door, I let them knock for 10 minutes before opening it. "Beatrice?" Samantha said immediately with tears in her eyes. "I need to apologize to you." "All right," I replied, keeping the door barely ajar. "I made a terrible mistake on Friday. I was nervous about the dinner. I'd had a little to drink, and I said horrible things that I didn't seriously mean." "What things didn't you seriously mean, Samantha? When you handed me the dirty mop? When you told me to eat off the floor like a dog? Or when you said I was a moocher living for free?" Samantha blushed. "All of that. None of that was true. It wasn't true that you handed me the mop, because I remember it very clearly. No, I mean, yes, it happened, but I didn't mean to be cruel. I was just—" "You were just what?" "I was just frustrated." "Frustrated about what?" Samantha looked at Daniel for help, but he avoided her gaze. "Well, sometimes I feel like we don't have privacy in our own house." "Privacy? How so? Like you're always here and—" "Samantha," I interrupted her. "That house has 4 bedrooms. I live in one of them. You have the rest of the house for your privacy. Yes, but besides that, I cook, I clean, I do the laundry, I maintain the yard, and I pay the mortgage. Is that what bothers you?" "It's not that." "Then what is it?" Samantha started to cry. "It's just that sometimes I feel like Daniel loves you more than me." And there was the truth. "Samantha," I said calmly, "I am his mother. A mother's love doesn't compete with a wife's love. They are different. But he always talks about you. He always says I have to be more like you. And that's why you humiliated me. I just wanted you to see that I'm important in this family too. Samantha, you made me clean the floor with a dirty mop and told me to eat like a dog. Do you really think that's the way to show you're important?" "No, I felt threatened. Threatened by a 65-year-old woman who only wanted to help her son." Daniel finally spoke. "Mum, please." Samantha apologized. "Can't we just forget this and move on?" "Forget?" "Yes, forgive and forget. Like we've always done in our family." "Like we've always done?" "Daniel, how many times in your childhood did your father and I humiliate you in front of other people?" "Never. But how many times did we treat you like you were less than an animal?" "None, but Mum." "Then no, son. It's not something we've always done. It's something you both did to me, and I'm not going to forget it." I closed the door and didn't open it again, no matter how long they kept knocking. On Sunday morning, my last day in Dallas, I was packing my few belongings when my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. "Hello, Mrs. Peterson. This is Mark Johnson. I'm a lawyer. Your son Daniel hired me to talk to you about a family situation." I stopped folding my clothes and sat on the bed. "A lawyer?" "Yes, ma'am. Your son is very worried about you. He tells me you've been acting irrationally and are putting the family's welfare at risk." "Irrationally?" "Yes, ma'am. I understand you're upset about some misunderstanding, but cutting off financial support so abruptly is causing serious problems. Your son could lose his house." I laughed, but there was no humor in it. "Mr. Johnson, did Daniel tell you why I'm upset?" "He mentioned there was an argument during a dinner, something about household chores. But ma'am, family problems are solved by talking, not by cutting off financial support. Household chores? Yes, that's what he told me, Mr. Johnson. Did Daniel tell you that his wife made me clean the floor with a dirty mop in front of 8 guests, and then told me to eat crumbs off the floor like a dog? There was a long pause. No, ma'am. He did not mention those specific details. Did he tell you that for 3 years I have been paying the mortgage on his house, all the utilities, the repairs, and practically all their living expenses while they treated me like an unpaid domestic employee? Mrs. Peterson, I understand you are upset, but no, Mr. Johnson, you don't understand anything. My son is paying you to pressure me to return to a situation of abuse, but he is lying to you about the facts. Ma'am, perhaps we could arrange family mediation. There is nothing to mediate. I gave them 3 years of my life, my money, and my dignity. In return, I received humiliation and contempt. I am not going to pay for the privilege of being mistreated. But, ma'am, your son says you have a moral obligation. Moral obligation? What is a son's moral obligation to his mother? Doesn't it include basic respect? Mrs. Peterson, please, consider. Mr. Johnson, I am going to tell you something. Tomorrow, I am leaving Dallas. If Daniel wants to keep his house, he can get a second job, sell the new car I helped him pay for, or take out a loan. But he is no longer going to use my money to finance a life where I'm treated like trash. I hung up the phone and turned it off. An hour later, someone knocked on my room door so hard I thought they were going to break it. Beatrice, open the door. I know you're in there. It was Samantha, but her voice sounded different. There were no more tears or apologies. She sounded furious. Open the damn door. We need to talk. I opened the door slowly. Samantha was there with disheveled hair, red eyes, but no longer from sadness, but from rage. What do you want, Samantha? I want you to stop acting like a victim and come home. Excuse me? You heard me. I'm tired of this drama. I made a mistake. I apologized, but you keep acting like it's the end of the world. Samantha, you humiliated me in front of strangers. It was one night, one damn night, and for that you're going to destroy our lives. I am not destroying anything. I'm just stopping financing your life. It's the same thing. Without your money, we're going to lose everything. That's your problem, not mine. Samantha moved closer, her voice turning venomous. You know what I think? I think you're jealous. Jealous. Yes, jealous that Daniel loves me and not you. Jealous that we have a happy life without needing you to control everything. Samantha, you just admitted that you need my money to maintain that happy life. That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. You know what? You're a bitter old woman who can't accept that her son doesn't need her anymore. If Daniel doesn't need me, then there's no problem with me leaving. But we need your money. There was the truth. Samantha realized what she had said and tried to fix it. No, I meant... You said exactly what you thought. You don't need me, you just need my money. Beatrice, don't be ridiculous. Samantha, for 3 years I lived in that house feeling like I was in the way, that I was a burden, that they had to put up with me out of charity. But it turns out it was the other way around. You were the ones living off my charity. That's not true. No. With what money were you going to pay the mortgage this month? Samantha didn't answer. With what money are you going to pay the utilities? Silence. With what money are you going to buy groceries? Okay, yes, we need your money. Are you happy now? I am not happy, Samantha. I'm sad. I'm sad that my only son sees me only as a source of money. That's not true. No? Then tell me, when was the last time Daniel and you invited me to go out with you? When was the last time you asked for my opinion on something important? When was the last time you included me in a conversation that wasn't about household chores? Samantha opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Do you know the difference between a house cleaner and me? The house cleaner gets a salary and has days off. Beatrice, enough. No, Samantha, enough of you. Enough of being invisible in my own family. Enough of paying for the privilege of being mistreated. If you leave, Daniel will suffer. Daniel will learn to be responsible for his own decisions. You're going to force him to choose between his wife and his mother. No, Samantha. I'm going to free him from the obligation of supporting a mother who no longer wants to be supported. You can't do this. I already did. Samantha looked at me with an expression I had never seen before. It was pure hatred. You know what? You're right about one thing. We never wanted you in that house. You were always a burden. Daniel only put up with you because he felt guilty. Thank you for your honesty. And another thing, you're selfish. Daniel is your only son, and you're abandoning him. Samantha, I said calmly, Daniel abandoned me first. Last Friday, when he decided it was acceptable for you to treat me like an animal, he chose his side. Now I'm choosing mine. This isn't over. You're right, it's not over. It's going to get much worse for you. What do you mean? I mean that tomorrow I am leaving Dallas forever. And when I leave, you are going to realize everything you lost. Not just my money, Samantha. You are also going to lose the only person who loved you unconditionally. I don't care. I know. That is exactly the problem. Samantha left, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. That night, Daniel called for the last time. Mom! His voice sounded broken. Samantha told me what you talked about. Please don't leave. I already bought the ticket, son. We can fix this. Samantha promised to change. I'm going to change too. Daniel, do you want me to come back because you love me, or because you need my money? A very long pause. Both things, he finally admitted. Thank you for being honest. Mum, I can't lose the house. Then find a way to pay for it without my help. I don't earn enough money. Then find a better job or sell the house and buy something cheaper. But we've built a life here. You built a life here with my money, Daniel. Now you have to build a life you can maintain yourselves. Mum, please. I love you, son. That's why I'm leaving. So you can learn to live without depending on me. And if I can't, then you're going to have to learn. And if I lose Samantha? Son, if Samantha only stays with you while you have money, then she's not worth keeping. But I love her. I know. And maybe that's exactly why you need to find out if she loves you, or if she just loves what I was providing for you. Mum, I'm scared. It's okay to be scared, Daniel. Fear is going to motivate you to do what you have to do to survive. Are you going to call me? Not for a while. You need to learn to solve your problems without me. And if I need help? Then look for help somewhere else, with friends, with other family members, with professionals, but not with me. This feels like a punishment. It's not a punishment, son. It's a liberation. For both of us. I hung up the phone and cried for the first time in a week, but they weren't tears of sadness. They were tears of relief. 6 months later, I was sitting in the backyard of Helen's house in Phoenix, drinking coffee and watching the sunrise over the mountains. The desert air was dry and clean, so different from the heavy humidity of Dallas that I had left behind. Helen came out of the kitchen with her own cup of coffee and sat next to me. How do you feel today, cousin? Free, I replied without thinking. And it was true. For the first time in years, I felt completely free. The first 2 months in Phoenix had been difficult, not because I regretted my decision, but because I was rediscovering who I was when I didn't have to take care of anyone else. I had spent so long being Daniel's mother, or Samantha's mother-in-law, that I had forgotten how to simply be Beatrice. Helen had helped me tremendously. She signed me up for a painting class at the community centre, introduced me to her friends, and convinced me to buy a small car so I could get around independently. "You know what the strangest thing is?" I said to Helen as we watched the cactus bloom in her garden. "What?" "That for the first time in my adult life, all the money I spend is for me. Yesterday I went to the supermarket and bought salmon because I felt like salmon, not because someone else had asked for it, not because it was for a special occasion, just because I wanted to eat it." Helen smiled. "It's incredible how the simplest things can feel like luxuries when you regain your freedom." She was right. Over the last few weeks, I had been doing things that seemed silly, but were revolutionary for me. I had gone to the movies alone on a weekday afternoon. I had bought an expensive book just because I liked the cover. I had slept until 10 o'clock in the morning on a Sunday without feeling guilty. My phone rang. It was a number from Dallas that I didn't recognize. "Hello? Mrs. Peterson? This is Sandra Garcia. I'm a county social worker. I'm calling because we received an elder welfare referral. Someone reported that you might be in a situation of abandonment." I sat up straighter. "Abandonment?" "Yes, ma'am. We received a call from a family member of yours saying you are living alone, possibly without adequate resources, and that your family is worried about your welfare." "Who made that call?" "I cannot reveal that information, but I need to ask you, are you sure of where you are currently living? Do you have access to food, medicines, and adequate medical care?" "Mrs. Garcia, I am living very comfortably with my cousin in Phoenix. I have access to everything I need and more." "Could you provide me with an address where they can verify this?" I gave her Helen's address and my phone number. "Mrs. Peterson, do you have adequate financial resources?" "I have more than $200,000 in my personal bank account." "Oh," her voice changed completely. "Well, that is very different from what was reported." "What exactly did they report?" "They reported that you had left home without money, that you might be living on the street or in inadequate conditions, and that you were refusing to accept help from your family." "Mrs. Garcia, I left my son's house because I was being mistreated. I have my own money, my own independence, and I am living exactly where I want to live. I understand. Well, there is obviously no emergency situation here. I apologize for bothering you. Wait, Mrs. Garcia, may I ask something? Is it common for children to report their parents as abandoned when the parents simply move out?" "No, ma'am. Generally, we receive these types of reports when there is financial abuse or genuine neglect." "Financial abuse?" "Yes. When someone is using the resources of a senior citizen against their will, or when they are being financially exploited." "How interesting. Why do you say that?" "Because for 3 years, I was the one who financed the life of my son and his wife, and when I stopped doing so, now they report me as abandoned." There was a long pause. "Mrs. Peterson, do you feel you were financially exploited?" "Yes, Mrs. Garcia. Definitely. Would you like to report that situation?" "No, thank you. I already took care of the problem. I left." When I hung up, Helen looked at me curiously. "Everything okay?" "Daniel reported me to social services as abandoned and living in inadequate conditions." "What?" "I guess his strategy now is to make me look like a confused old woman who needs to be rescued and taken back home." Helen shook her head. "That boy really doesn't get it, does he?" "No. He doesn't get it. That afternoon, I decided to do something I had been putting off. I called my bank in Dallas. National Bank. Patricia speaking. Hello, Patricia. This is Beatrice Peterson. Do you remember a few months ago I cancelled all my automatic transfers? Yes, Mrs. Peterson. How are you? Very well, thank you. Patricia, could you tell me if anyone has tried to access information about my account? Let me check. Yes, ma'am. Last month, we received a call from someone claiming to be your son, asking about the status of your account. We also received a visit from a young woman who claimed to be your daughter-in-law, asking if you had any will or trust registered with us. What did you tell them? We didn't give them any information, of course. All your account information is private. Did they seem desperate? Well, ma'am, the young man who called sounded very worried. He kept asking if there was any way he could help you manage your finances because he was worried about your mental well-being. And the young woman, she specifically asked if you had any debts, if someone might be responsible for paying them if something happened to you, and if there was any way they could have access to your funds in case of emergency. I understand. Patricia, I want to make sure that absolutely no one but me has access to any information about my account. It is already set up that way, Mrs. Peterson. Perfect. One last question. Have they asked again about the automatic transfers I cancelled? Yes, ma'am. Your son has called 3 times asking if there was an error in the system, if the transfers could be automatically reactivated, and if there was any way he could speak to a supervisor about what he called a family emergency situation. What did they tell him? We told him that only you can authorize changes to your account. Thank you, Patricia. That night, Helen and I went out to dinner at a Mexican restaurant in downtown Phoenix. It was the first time in years I had gone out to dinner without worrying about how much it cost, without feeling like I had to justify the expense, without thinking about who would be waiting for me at home for me to serve them dinner. Beatrice, Helen said as we ate, I have to tell you something. You look 10 years younger than when you arrived here. Seriously? Seriously. When you arrived, you had this expression, like you were apologizing for existing. Now you look like the Beatrice I knew when we were young. I feel like that Beatrice too. Do you regret anything? I regret waiting so long to leave. 3 weeks later, Helen entered my room with a strange expression. Beatrice, there's someone at the door who says he's your son. My heart raced. Daniel is here? Yes, and he brought a woman. I assume it's Samantha. I walked down the stairs slowly. Through the living room window, I could see Daniel standing on Helen's porch. He looked terrible. He had lost weight, had deep circles under his eyes, and his clothes were wrinkled. Samantha was next to him, but she looked different too. Her perfect hair was a mess, and she was wearing cheap clothes. I opened the door. Hi, Mum. Hello, Daniel. Can we talk? What do you want to talk about? Mum, we lost the house. I'm sorry for you. Samantha left me. I looked at Samantha, who was standing behind Daniel with her arms crossed. Then why is she here? She came back yesterday. She says if you come back with us, she'll stay too. I looked at Samantha directly. Is that true? Beatrice, Samantha said, with a voice that tried to sound sweet, but came out forced. We made mistakes, both of us, but we're family and families forgive each other. Where are you living now? In a small apartment, Daniel replied. Only 1 bedroom. But if you come back, we can look for something bigger. Between the 3 of us, we can afford something better. Between the 3 of you? Yes. Well, you have more resources, so… Stop right there, Daniel. What? Did you come all the way to Phoenix to ask me for money? No, Mum. We came to ask you to come home. To what home? You said you lost the house. Well, to ask you to come back with us, so you can pay for a bigger apartment. Daniel lowered his gaze. Mum, we can't do this alone. Why not? Because we don't earn enough money. Samantha doesn't work. I lost my job, Samantha murmured. Why? Because I missed a lot of work when I was depressed after you left. Were you depressed because you missed me or because my money ran out? Samantha didn't answer. Daniel, I said calmly, why did you report me to social services as abandoned? Because I was worried about you, or because you thought that if I was declared incompetent, you could gain access to my money? Mom, no, I would never. Daniel, your bank called me. They said you went 3 times asking about my accounts. I just wanted to make sure you were okay. And Samantha went to the bank asking about my will. Samantha blushed. You are here because my money ran out and you can't live without it. That's not true, Daniel protested. No? Then let's do an experiment. I will give you $5,000 in cash right now, and I don't want to hear from you again for 5 years. If you are truly only concerned about my welfare, that should be enough to reassure you. Daniel and Samantha looked at each other. 5,000? Samantha asked. Isn't that enough for your emergency? Well, it's just that we need more than that for the deposit on a new apartment, and… There is your answer, I said, starting to close the door. Wait, Daniel shouted. Mum, we are your family. No, I replied calmly. You are 2 adults who never learned to be responsible for your own lives because you always had someone to rescue you. But we need you. You don't need me. You need my money. And that is exactly why you are never going to have it. I closed the door and leaned against it, listening as they argued on the porch for several minutes before finally leaving. Helen appeared beside me. Are you okay? Perfectly fine. Don't you feel guilty? Not at all. For the first time in years, I don't feel guilty about absolutely anything. That night, sitting on the patio watching the desert stars, I thought about the path I had traveled. 6 months ago, I was an invisible woman, working for free in a house where I wasn't welcome, paying for the privilege of being mistreated. Now I was a free woman, with my own money, new friendships, and a whole life ahead of me. I had lost my son, but I had regained my dignity. I had lost my role as a mother, but I had rediscovered my identity as a woman. I had lost a toxic family, but I had gained an authentic life. And for the first time in years, that seemed like a perfect exchange. The next day, I enrolled in a photography class and bought a new car, not because I needed it, but because I wanted to. And that, I decided, was the difference between living and merely surviving.